All right, making the save, off stick side high. Like I mentioned earlier, you want to punch across just your top hand. Your off stick side hip, people say is the hardest shot to save because it's 180 degrees opposite of where you started, so it's the farthest distance. One thing that I would say is cut the clock in half rather than go around the clock. So if my hand's at 2 o'clock and I want to go to 9, instead of going all the way around the clock, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So cut through that clock with your top hand, punch your bottom hand out, and you end up there rather than swinging all the way around to get there. Because when they swing, it opens up their hips and they're not square to the shooter anymore. So make sure your toes always are pointing to the shooter, which is going to keep your hips square, and then your hands out in front of you. So cut through that clock and punch your bottom hand out. Make sure your stick ends up perpendicular to the ground with your head open. So you don't want to have your hand in your back pocket back here, because then the surface area of that stick is pretty small. Make sure you always keep it up vertical, perpendicular to the ground. Bounce shots and low shots. And when you're in an athletic position, it's very important that you bend your knees and you don't bend at the waist. So you drop your butt like a shortstop or a catcher. Always bend your knees, drop your butt, keeping your chest up. So you're taking as much of that surface area away as possible, again, without your shoulders dropping and your chest going to the ground. With that being said, if I'm in my ready position and I bend my knees, my hand can get to the ground right away by just going underneath. If I bend at the waist, I have to reach. I'm not athletic, and if it takes a bad hop or bounces up, me being able to bend my back to get back up is a lot harder than if I drop down and explode back up with my body by bending at your knees. So if it's a low shot, I'm still bending at my knees to get down rather than at the waist. That's like the main important emphasis is make sure if you bend at your knees to keep your chest up, be as big as possible rather than bending at the waist and leaning over. Make sure they can always see when you're shooting on them. Make sure they don't drop their head and put their chin to their chest because they can't see what's going on in front of them. I always make us, if you have that visor here, I can drop my eyes. My eyes can see my toes and still see everything in front of me by keeping my head up rather than dropping my chin to the chest. You try to get the ball at the lowest possible spot before it bounces up. So you try to smother it as soon as possible. If it's obviously outside the crease, likely that's not happening. If a ball bounces outside the crease, you know it's going to be at least waist or higher unless it's a underhand shot. So a lot of it, you can read the shooters you can read the bounce by where the shot comes from. So if wherever they release it, it's probably going to be where it bounces up to. So if it's a 3/4 release, it's probably going to be a 3/4 bounce coming up, chest or higher. If it's a low to low, it's going to stay low. If it's overhand high, it's going to be bounce, and it's going to be another high bouncer. So you can read the release point of the shooter. It's going to help you react to where that ball is going to be. And then wherever that ball is, you try to smother it as soon as possible so it doesn't attack you. I always say play the ball before the ball plays you.